Okay, guys, good morning. Hope you're having a good day. So what I want to do is I want to kind of go over what we did yesterday. Um, Basically, we talked about like perimeter yesterday for squares and rectangles. And then for the homework, I gave you some area too, but I told you not to worry about the area. I just wanted you to do the perimeter. So then I gave you a formula sheet. And these were both the formulas for a square. So the square is the area is a square. So it's just one of the sides square, and the perimeter would be 4a. So I want to just focus on some of the squares, and we'll do squares first, then we'll do rectangles. Okay. So the first square was on there. It was it said kilometers, km. Okay. And then the other side was 6 km. And that's all that I gave you. But in a square, all four sides are the same length. So if we're doing perimeter, we're going to do 4 times the length of the side. So that would be 4 times 6. So what you're going to get for the perimeter for that would be 24 kms. Okay, even though you only had 1, 2, we know that a square, all 4 sides are equal. So we're going to know 3 and 4 are going to be the same. So even a square, if you only got 1, you would know that they're all exactly the same. So you don't sometimes, like if you're taking the test and only gives you 1, don't freak out because like, oh my God, I don't know what the other 3 are. Remember, in a square, they're all exactly the same. Okay. So that was basically on any square, that's how you would find the area. Okay. Excuse me, the perimeter. That's the area around. For the area, it's going to be a little bit different, but I want you to think of it this way. We'll do the exact same one. I'm going to do this in red. And if we know one side is 6 kms and the other one is 6 kms, now we're trying to find the area. And the area would be a square. Okay, so that would be 6 times 6, because square is when you multiply the number times itself. So the area is going to be 36. One way you could think of that too is if basically the area is the surface area, and what I was going to show you, if we just do like little squares, I'll try to do 6, 2, 3, 4. That one's going to be a little smaller. 5, 6. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you're going to have the same thing down here. I'll try to do the same thing down here. You're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, we'll try to make this one. Oops. Same thing. This one's a little bit big. I apologize. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you had a little square right here, how many of those squares would go into this bigger square? And what it's going to be 36 of these little squares. And if you could just take a square and place it in a bigger thing, I think we did this in class one time with graph paper. It's a little bit easier. There'd be 36 of these little squares would fit into the big square. And that's basically how you find your area. Or you do 6 times 6. But just for the visual, you can see that's what really area is. It's a distance, like when they talk about area of a room, that's kind of like the floor space. How many squares would go in that room? Okay. So you guys, if we look back up here, we've got 2 formulas. We've got basically area is a square. So it's one side times basically 6 times 6. because that's what a square is. Then you have perimeter, you're just adding all four sides together. So it's kind of similar, but a little bit different, because the perimeter is finding the area around the outside, and the area is on the inside. So perimeter is on the outside, area is on the inside. Okay, I want to do a couple other examples here. Okay, so you got one that was it said 4 kms times 1 km. Okay, and that's all you got. And some of you are like, well, how can I find basically the perimeter if I only have two sides? But remember, the sides are going to be equal. So this bottom one is going to be 4 km. And basically, this one is going to be 1 km, because they're exactly the same. So what you would do, you'd add them all together, and that would be 10 kms is the perimeter. Okay, now this is a rectangle. It's not a square because all sides aren't equal. So the area basically would be formula is length times width. So you have the length is 4 times the width is 1. So the area is going to be 4 kms. Okay. And the perimeter formula for a rectangle is 2 times width times length. Okay, so basically you're going to have 1 plus 4 is 5 times 2 is 10. So the perimeter is going to be 10 and the area is going to be 4. So that's the only thing I didn't cover yesterday. We only talked about squares. So squares, all four sides are equal. Rectangle, the sides are different lengths. Okay, they look pretty similar, but you just realize how you know a square is when basically, like up here, you're going to know the top side is the same length as the side. Okay, that's how you know it's a square. And a rectangle, you're going to have two different lengths, okay? But they're going to be the same. The top's going to be the same as the bottom, and the sides are going to be the same. So let's do one more rectangle here. We'll have the one on your practice was 2, and it used meters, and this one was 8 meters. So what do we know here? We only have two sides, but we know that they're going to be equal. So the bottom is also going to be 2 meters. And this other side is going to be 8 meters. So let's go back to our formulas. So area for a rectangle equals length times width. Okay, so the length is going to be 8 meters. And the width is going to be 2 meters. So if we do that, it's going to be 8 times 2 equals 16. Okay. And for the perimeter, it's going to be 2 times width plus length. So it's going to be 2 times 8 plus 2, which is 10. So 2 times 10 is going to be 20. So the perimeter is going to be 20 right there. And the area is 16. Okay. And once again, you guys, if I like on the basically on the homework, it only gave you this side and this side. So this one wasn't there and that one wasn't there. But you know, basically a rectangle that this side over here, if I put an X there, is going to be the same as that. And just like the top, the 2m, it's going to be the same down here. It's going to be 2m because the exact same length. So sometimes, you know, on a test, it might not give you all four of the sides, but don't freak out. Be like, okay, let me think about this. Especially for a square, you know, a square, all four sides are the same. And a rectangle, two of the sides are the same. You know, the one across from is exactly the same length. Okay, let's do one more. And this one, it's 7 meters and 5. So we know it's not a square because we have two different, basically, lengths. Okay, so the area for this, remember area for a rectangle, is going to be length times width. So it's going to be 7 times 5, and that's going to give you 35. Okay, and the perimeter is going to be 2 times length plus width. So it's 7 plus 5 is 12, and 2 times 12 is 24. So our area is going to be 35, and the perimeter is going to be 24. Okay, so I'll just go back and I want to go over these formulas again with you guys. So for a square, and that's when all four sides are the same, the area is going to be a square. So it's one side times another side. So for this square right here, if it's 4 and 4, I know it's not a perfect square, but you get the idea. It's going to be 4 times 4 is going to be 16. Okay. And the perimeter is going to be 4a, so the perimeter is going to be the same too. It's going to be 16 because it's going to be 4. This is the area, and the perimeter equals 4a. So it's 4 times 4 times 4 times 4, okay? And remember here what you could do if you were really struggling with this, if you had a square that 16 of these squares would fit into there. And that's kind of how you get a visual of like a room, the square feet. It'd be like putting a little, even like a little piece of carpet. If you have a 1-by-1 piece of carpet, how many pieces of those carpet would go on the floor, like in your kitchen, your bedroom? And that's how you find the square footage, okay? And then for a rectangle, so we're going to have square up here, and here is rectangle. Area equals length times width. So if we have one of these up, I'll use the same one I used before. We have 4 kms times 1 km. Your area is length times width. So that's going to be length times width is 4. So it's going to be 4 times 1 equals 4. And your perimeter is going to be 2 times width plus length. So it's going to be 4 plus 1, which is 5. 2 times 5 is 10. So the perimeter is going to be 10. So the area is 4 and the perimeter is 10. Okay, So that's just how we find our area and perimeter for a square and a rectangle. Okay, so that should make the homework maybe make a little more sense. And just remember, when you're doing the squares and the rectangles, if you only have two sides, that's fine. Because a square, obviously, every side's going to be the same. You only need one. And then for the rectangle, so the rectangle, this will make sense. If this is 4, this has got to be 4. And if this is 1, this side has got to be 1. So if you only get two sides, that's fine, because you know the other opposite side is going to be exactly the same length. Okay? I'll go ahead and post this. I'll put a little practice up. And I'm going to start my science here if you're going to join me in about 10 minutes. So hopefully you guys have a nice day, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.